everyone. Well, here comes another week, right? And in the UK, that's another week of homeschooling for us, and probably where you're living too. If you've got kids at home, you're in the middle of that as well. So pray for each other, pray for the mathematical mindset that I do not have to somehow be downloaded. I'll be phoning a lot of my friends this week, that's for sure. Anyway, wherever this finds you, you're on your own and you're just taking time out to have coffee with me. I'm so glad to hang together. I actually want to address something today at the beginning of the week that has been something I've observed in a lot of people's comments and people that are kind of doing an assessment of what they're learning. So many people have talked about how, they're now chilled out and they're going to change the pace of their life, almost as if without this season, I would never get the crazy out of my life. And I get what people are saying, but I actually want to help with some faulty thinking that actually is not going to help us move into our future with any change at all unless we address it. And so today I want to help you choose your pace, because the comments kind of lead to you thinking that, outside of quarantine and lockdown, I would have never changed the pace of my life. Outside of this season of me being at home, I would have never realized how much I actually just need to be at home. And if this season, through its extremity, is teaching us that extreme lesson, then I'm thankful that it's teaching us it, but it won't fix it. Because actually what we're saying is that it's all of those outside elements that were in my life that have made my life crazy and out of control and fast-paced and me having to do everything. What it's saying is it's the removal of all that stuff that's finally allowed me to get my pace right. And what I actually want to say is it's not anything to do with all of that stuff. That the pace of your life is the pace that you choose. And if all of that stuff was driving you, then there's no reason why when you exit this season, it won't try and drive you again. And what we have to discover is that there's a pace in all of our life that can have a grace attached to it. And I think one of the things that we don't know how to do is we don't know how to set the pace well in our soul, in our heart, in our mind. And so that leads to us oftentimes feeling overworked, overstressed, overpressured, but I want you to be delivered from all of that. Listen, I sit here today as someone whose pace has changed if you were to look at the outside demands, the scheduling demands, but that pace never was a heartache for me or a headache for me. That pace of my life of getting on a plane and off a plane was never a stressful point for me because I was choosing the pace and I was finding in God the grace for that pace. And so what I want you to realize is that the busyness is not the problem. It's the way that we lean into God and the way that we actually order our life and the way that we actually embrace the busyness that is either the answer or the problem to how we proceed from here. So let me kind of explain it this way to you. One of my very, very favorite life verses is Matthew 11, verse 28 in the Message Bible. And it asks this question: are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burnt out on religion? I think at the beginning of this lockdown season, maybe people were burnt out. Maybe they were worn out. And this season has awakened them to the fact that they were living their life that way. And then it goes on to say this: then come to me and get away with me and you'll recover your life. I pray in this season that you all recover your life in the best possible way. But now I need you to see how you recover your life. You don't recover your life by quitting your job. You don't recover your life by, changing your entire scheduling. I mean, those things may need adjusting, but that's not really how you recover your life. It goes on to say, I'm going to show you how you recover your life and I'll show you how to take a real rest. Okay, this is not a real rest because this is not our real life. When this season is done, life kicks back in. And what I'm asking you today is, could you discover how to take a real rest in the midst of busyness, a real rest in the midst of your work, a real rest in the rhythm of your life? So he says this then: walk with me and work with me. Okay, so then I have to stop there again, because what it's saying is that the way you find rest according to God in Matthew 11, the way you find real rest is actually working with him. A lot of us are working for God, but not many people have learned actually how to work with God. And those two things are entirely different. You can serve, and be stressed because you're doing it in your own strength and you're doing it in your own might and you're doing it for your own agenda. But when you are serving alongside God, when you are working with God, there is a way to find a rest in that because it's a different way to work. He goes on to say, watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. I want by the end of this 10 or so minutes together today for you to adjust any faulty thinking that somehow thinks that when this season's over, you're going to cancel everything so you can remain at peace. That is not actually how it works. But actually what needs to happen in this season is that we learn how to actually find rest in God so that when we enter the next season, the rest goes with us. That there's actually a rhythm for your life and mine that has a grace attached to it. Think of it this way. If God is your dancing instructor, He knows the melody, He knows the beat, He knows the season of your life, every single season of your life. And as your great dance instructor, your job is to lean into Him so that He can teach you the rhythm for each season. So, for example, when I was single, the rhythm for my life looked different than when I was married. And then the rhythm of my life changed all over again when we had children. But it didn't mean that in any of those seasons, I laid down my job, I laid down my calling, I laid down my friendships. It just meant I figured the rhythm that God had that was the grace rhythm for my life. And God has a grace rhythm for all of our lives, but we only discover it by working with Him and leaning into Him. He does not put things that are heavy or ill-fitting on us. So if one of your revelations in this season is, oh my gosh, I was so stressed, then that's not God. You maybe have added things to your life that have added stress to your life. Maybe you have relationships that are stressful that you added. Maybe there are areas that you are meddling in that you shouldn't be that have added stress. But when you lean into God, you might be busy, but in your busy, you'll be blessed because there's a rhythm of grace to the thing that God is calling you to do. He's anointing you to do. I remember when I first got married and then we had children and we had infertility battle for years that I've shared on here a few weeks ago. And, I finally had kids and then I started to work and serve God and do what it is I was called to do. And I remember someone telling me that I was so disappointing them because after all of this time, God's given me this miracle. And why would I not just stay at home and be thankful that He blessed me with a child? And instead, what a bad parent I was. And I remember for a moment receiving that and letting that guilt sit on me and thinking, well, then I need to just totally change my life to be, what this person said I'm supposed to be. And I remember in that season when I was trying to be what that person told me, being so stressed out, even though I was sat still, being so anxious, even though I wasn't doing as much as I was, and being so feeling out of step with what God had for my life. And then one day, this scripture just came alive to me, that God knew I would have children. God knew that my life would look like this. God knew the calling on me, and therefore God knows the rhythm of my life, the unforced rhythm of my life. And I got back involved with what I was doing, pulled the kids alongside me, and I'm telling you, there was just a rhythm came on our household, in my soul, in my spirit. There was a rhythm because real rest isn't dropping everything. Real rest is figuring out the pace and the grace for your life. Now, my life looks different to your life. So your rhythm might be being at home. Your rhythm might be homeschooling your kids. Your rhythm might be running your own business. I don't know what it is, but you've got to find the rhythm of grace for your life. And there is one for all of our lives. And so where right now do you need to kind of switch your thinking and think about your life rather than I'm dropping everything? Think, what am I picking up in this season that I actually need to find the rhythm of grace for in my marriage, in my family, in my life. And I'm telling you, when you discover the rhythm, I'm telling you, everything becomes easier and everything becomes so much more fulfilling. When I first started in ministry, someone else that gave me some advice said to me, you should do everything right now because, right now you're really popular. You should be doing everything. You should be doing podcasts. You should be doing this. You should be writing a book. And I remember in that moment feeling a whole different set of pressure that I should be speeding up and doing more stuff. And again, I had to come back to God and go, no, I don't believe that that's what God's asking of me. I think that's what man's telling me I should do. But I'm going to find the rhythm of God. And if down the line I'm supposed to write a book, I'll find the rhythm of grace for that season. And if down the line I'm supposed to do a podcast, I'm pretty sure I'm going to find the rhythm of grace, but I'm not going to force something out of fear that I somehow won't be where I should be, because God can put us all where we need to be at any given time. He is the one that gets to choose the pace with us for our life, and his pace always has a grace attached to it. So I need you to think about your life like a marathon. It is not a sprint. You are not trying to sprint your way through life. It is a marathon, and the sprint pace is different than the marathon pace. The sprint pace is, I've got to do it all now. The marathon pace is, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. And I want to have the kind of life that can be sustained for the long run, and that's only found with that rhythm of grace for your life. So maybe what you've learned in this season is, hey, I have been sprinting and the pace is all wrong. And I just need to adjust my pace so that I can re-enter the race with a new grace on me. And if that's the lesson you're learning, then I'm so pleased that you're learning it in this season, because you will thank yourself in the future for adjusting your pace to find that rhythm of grace. Maybe you're going to realize I'm not doing enough. Actually, what this is realized is there's things in me that need to get out of me. And you're going to find there's a rhythm of grace for you to step into a season of a different work and a different expression than you even had before. The point is, in this season, the answer is not, oh, everything has to go. The answer is not, I've lost my way in life because I'm doing all these things. That's not the takeaway. The takeaway maybe is that you got your pace out of line and you stopped leaning into the one who knows the rhythm for your life. And if you'll get back into the rhythm of life and the pace that grace is attached to, you're going to find that this next season that the burden is easy and the yoke is light, because that's the way he says he works in our life. Listen to this verse as I close in Romans 3:27. It says, what we've learned in this is this: God does not respond to what we do. We respond to what God does. We finally figured it out. Our lives have to get in step with God and all others by letting him set the pace. Not by proudly or anxiously trying to run the show. Let me read it again. We have learned in this: God does not respond to what we do. We respond to what God does, right? Maybe you've been running, responding to everything that you're creating, but no, we respond to what God does. And then it says, we finally figured it out. Our lives have to get in step with God and let him set the pace. We don't need to try and run the parade. So in this season, allow your life to get in step with God and discover that there is a rhythm of grace for your life that will help you with the pace of your life when you exit this season. Some of you need to put your sneakers on because it's time to run. Some of you need to start changing your pace from sprinting to long haul, long distance running. Some of you need to say yes to some stuff because that's the grace for the next season. And some of you need to say, you know what? I have been over pushing and over stressing my agenda, and I just need to get back to doing what God's called me to do. I don't know what the adjustment is, but I know we all are going to step back into life. And in stepping back into life, it doesn't need to mean you lose your rest, because rest is nothing to do with all of that stuff. Rest is to do with this stuff. The pace of grace helps you find the rest that you need. So, my friend, today, choose your pace.